Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to speak at this conference of the IMAGE project. We'll speak about autistic people's organizations and employment with regard to contribution to research and ethical perspectives. I'm here as a representative of EUCAP. EUCAP is the European Council of Autistic People, and that is an umbrella organization founded in 2019 to connect European organizations that are led by autistic people, where autistic people are in the majority in decision making. One of the goals of EUCAP is to help autistic people to identify shared goals and advocacy themes across the language and cultural boundaries within Europe. At the time of doing this lecture, EUCAP has 16 member organizations and 2 individual members from countries where autistic people's organizations do not yet exist. The main question for me to discuss today is what can we contribute as autistic people's organizations? First of all, I would like to point out that we can contribute our collective view that autistic people's employment issues should actually be a very high priority matter when it comes to research funding and general investment in research. And I believe I can safely say that most autistic people's organizations are very likely to offer their support and cooperation to researchers when the goal is to direct more funding into employment-related research, to do the research that focuses on employment, and to carry out and initiate practical projects that will promote employment. What else we can contribute? Naturally, our participation in many different roles. Among the members of the EUCAP member organizations, there are many autistic researchers and professionals who would be happy to cooperate working on funding applications, who would be happy to join research teams to carry out this work. Autistic people's organizations in many cases would be very interested in joining in at the stage of submitting project applications to become project partners. And then there are numerous people who would be happy to engage in co-production, to participate in your projects as interviewees, survey respondents, and many other roles. What else we can contribute? We are generally happy to disseminate research results and to use them in our advocacy work whenever we believe that there is a chance they will help some of our members towards employment and to succeeding and generally thriving in their workplace. We are happy to participate in discussions concerning publications and other end products coming from employment-related research. This means we can provide much-needed feedback from our autistic members, and this, of course, serves as groundwork for further projects. Something we can contribute is honest criticism. We can offer you ethical and experience-based views, especially that are not necessarily familiar or immediately and intuitively obvious to most researchers. Some people may be a little bit worried about this aspect. And yes, we may be a bit blunt in providing that criticism, but please remember that we have shared interests. We really want your research to be successful because it would help us to be successful in our lives. So please hear our views at the earliest possible stages rather than late in the process. Some of the ethical viewpoints on participatory research to start with. We would like you to think when you're writing your project or when you're starting your work, take a look and consider, have you thought about participation in every stage of the research cycle? Is it there from your planning of the funding application all the way to your discussions about the end products and publications? Or have you felt that some of these stages should be reserved for professionals and researchers only? We tend to feel that we should be involved in every stage. Look at the kind of participation that you've been thinking about. Does it consist of brief individual consultations where one of us stops by to give you an opinion and then disappears? Or have you reserved opportunities for repeated rounds of engagement and feedback? In our experience generally, the repeated rounds are needed for real communication to happen. The one thing we tend to be very concerned about is how autistic people are treated as the participants in participatory research. What does the autistic person get? What do you offer? Are they going to get a warm and fuzzy feeling from getting to help others while everyone else engaging in the same work is getting paid? Do they get their expenses covered, or are they expected to actually, contribute financially for the privilege of getting to do some work? Do you think of paying them for the hours that they put in? Do you consider giving them credit for any ideas that they contribute, or will all their input be anonymous, whether they want or not? Towards the end of the process, will they have access to the publications and the events where the results will be discussed, or do they kind of fall outside of the circle at that point? If they would benefit from visibility as autistic professionals or as experience-based experts and speakers, is there an opportunity for them to get that? No, not all ways in which people would benefit necessarily cost you anything other than a little bit of thought, and consideration. Or could the benefit for them come from visibility to their organization for the advocacy work that they're committed to? And in connection with employment research specifically, the question that is often on the minds of autistic people is, are you leading by example? How many autistic people are employed within your research project? And this could be in many roles, not necessarily as researchers, that's not always realistic, but just doing something for the project. If it seems that you have a big team but no single autistic person within it, it may, depending on circumstances, it just may affect your credibility in the eyes of us and our organizations. Other matters where we come up with ethical viewpoints to general message and context of your research. Is it possible that you might be inadvertently signaling that unemployment or poor performance at work is a result of person factors only, to be solved through changing the individual only? Or are you looking at system factors as well? Are you possibly signaling that becoming economically productive should be our primary goal in life? Or are you perhaps signaling that being unable to succeed in paid employment means that a person does not work or does not contribute to society, or is somehow generally less worthy than the employed person? And I've seen this expressed several times from several countries, and I believe it comes from the lived reality of us working in autistic people's organizations, where there are people with many different levels of ability and many different kinds of ability profile, and finding that we tend to very much value the input and contribution of those who are not in paid employment, and for whom that might actually always be the wrong kind of solution. Another thing that tends to raise concerns when we read research about employment is how little attention it tends to pay to long-term well-being and balance between work and other parts of life. In your research, are these completely invisible, or are they minor matters that somebody else should research somewhere else? So does it look like in your research becoming employed is the magical end point? That's where success has happened and nothing further is necessary? Another thing that ties in with how ethical research is actually its effectiveness and impact. Because there are finite resources to be spent on autism and employment, we would like those resources to lead to real change within our lifetime, preferably. So when you look at your research or the next project you plan to engage on, think about this. Is it designed in a way that allows you to assess its impact on autistic people, the end users? Will it be possible to see how your research changes the employment status, or the income levels, or the quality of life of the individuals who were supported through your research, or the people who get the knowledge from it, or who use the end products from it? Will you be able to measure any changes in the numbers of autistic people employed at any individual company, at your local level, at your national level, as a result of this next project that you will do? We are concerned about large-scale and long-term monitoring, because that ties in with our real lives and our human rights. So consider, is your research designed in a way that allows to link your results to any kind of long-term monitoring process of employment levels and income? And if it is not, is it actually ethically justifiable to use those much needed funds on that particular kind of research? What the European Council of Autistic People recommends This is something that we wrote together with people from several countries in response to a public discussion organized by the United Nations Committee on the Rights of People with Disabilities, discussing their Article 27, right to work and employment, and quoting something that we sent as our contribution to this process. UCAP welcomes the suggestion of programs that target intellectual and psychosocial disabilities. So in this public discourse, we're very much on the side of investing in programs that will promote our employment. We feel that such programs should be funded on a large scale, not just by some small non-governmental organizations or research institutions, but there should be some serious funding put into this. And this is specifically because we feel that they should be on a large scale and long term. We feel that this kind of research should be designed to reach large numbers of people, including those who have difficulty accessing services, who do not get appropriate needs assessment. And we are in favor of collecting disaggregated data about employment, financial status, and quality of life over long periods to see who benefits and how much. We need a solid evidence base. This is why we are not generally in favor of running large numbers of local, small-scale research projects. Because in the experience of many autistic people's organizations, the results of such projects disappear. They will invent an employment service model, a support model. In the worst case scenario, they will reinvent something that already exists. And in the process, will disrupt the lives of people who need stability and predictability in their services. And they will typically not look at assessing their impact in the long run or linking to long-term monitoring, and therefore provide no information about what the research actually did, whether there was, as we wrote, significant and lasting change. Something else that UCAP is planning to do at the time of this conference, our survey has ended on 15th November, and we are in the process of analyzing our results, getting more information on autistic people's priorities regarding research and support. This has been carried out in 11 languages, largely using the voluntary efforts of autistic people's organizations. And the results of this will be published on the UCAP website at the end of this year and possibly early next year. And this is something that we hope will lead to further discourse between us and research funding organizations, universities, research teams, including those doing research on employment. A few links in case any of you want to contact us or to find out more about these topics that I've mentioned.